Just been sacked.
Joking.
Yeah, just been sacked.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it out. Okay, right. Manchester United sensationally sacked Ruben Amorim midway through the first record of this episode of Tactics Exposed. I'm Will Pugh, that's Sun Sports tactical guru Dean Scoggins. Absolute bombshell stuff at Old Trafford after Ruben Amorim's outburst after United's 1-1 draw at Leeds on Sunday, declaring that he was brought to Old Trafford to be the manager, not the head coach. United's hierarchy have obviously not liked that at all, and midway through Monday morning released a statement. Amorim's contract terminated with immediate effect. United's hierarchy apparently reluctantly made that decision, but he is out the door. Dino, huge drama at Old Trafford, a huge drama in the Tactics Exposed studio.
Cut and go again.
Exactly, we go again. And here we go again, Dino. Normally, you have 5 points on a particular game that we cover. This time round, we're just going to look at 3 things, aren't we? Tell us exactly what this video is going to cover.
Yeah, we're going to look at Amor time. He's gone, the hammer's come down on his reign, but the Leeds game was a perfect snapshot of all the things that were good, bad, and therefore indifferent about Man United at the moment. Number 2, is it as easy as 3-4-3? Is it that formation? What's been good? What's not been so good? And what happens next? And then number 3, squad's gift. I mean, he's been given finance, he's been given money, he's brought players in. What does the next manager, after caretaker Darren Fletcher, do with the squad?
Absolutely, mate. Right, let's have a look at that Leeds game, because as we've sort of planning this show in about 2 seconds, we have said that Leeds game was sort of a perfect microcosm of what's good and bad about Amorim and his time at Manchester United. We'll cover the whole reign in a little bit more in point 2, but just from that Leeds game there, just give me sort of the good bits that you saw and the things that have frustrated you and Manchester United fans from a tactical perspective.
Yeah, well, thankfully for me and for us and for the Man United fans, I have watched an unholy amount of Man United this year and last year. So therefore, we can move on from just one game. But it's really interesting for me. There were 2 things to really nail down in this Leeds game. Was that the Newcastle game and the Wolves game previously, there was this flirtation back with 4 at the back again, a 4-2-3-1 formation that worked really well against Newcastle, that went back into a 4-5-1. And even with a real scratch team that ended that game, they looked comfortable in a 4 at the back. And so the whole debate about the formation came up again. In the Wolves game, it was sort of neither one nor the other and wasn't very good at all, to be honest. And in this, it was back to stereotypical 3-4-3 Ruben Amorim. But the problem for me in this Leeds game was Patrick Dorgu, one of those signings who was a wing-back, brought in as a wing-back. But in the game where he played 4 at the back, Amorim, Dorgu looked very comfortable as a winger. But in this game, he played him as one of that front 3, and he just wasn't comfortable there. I talk a lot about players who are comfortable going out to in and in to out. So the players that are wingers love to hug the touchline and attack that space that they run into. Dorgu is one of those players, run into those spaces. In this game, he's in tight areas, and what he found himself doing was then running from in to out, which Leeds loved. Off you go. Out to a wide position with the ball where you're not going to hurt us anymore. If you've got the ball wide and you're running in, that's going to hurt us. And then obviously Amorim notices this, whether he was going to make the change before or after the Leeds goal, I'm not quite sure. But he reacted very quickly, brought Xerxes on, and it changed the game.
So just before we go on to the positive of that Xerxes change, Dino, is the sort of the Amorim bad that you noticed from that Leeds game is sort of crowbarring a square peg in Dorgu into a round hole into that sort of attacking position where he's not used to playing, just because he's so committed to the 3-4-3, where it's like, actually, you have got the ability to flex if you want.
That's exactly it. And, we've seen Luke Shaw play left back, left wing back, left centre back, which a player of Luke Shaw's quality is that's fine. But Xerxes, I still don't know what he is as a player. Dorgu, you're right, he's square pegs in round holes. He's moved lots of players around lots of different places in order to try and make this work. It hasn't been round pegs in round holes. And the Xerxes incident in this game, or the change with Xerxes, sort of summed it all up. All of a sudden, you had a player receiving it in the area of a field which he feels more comfortable in. He gets the ball into feet. He's spinning the Leeds defenders around. He gets into space and plays Cunha in in for the goal. Now, either pick the player that is more suited in that position or change your formation, like one or the other. And that's been the story of the whole Amorim reign, really. The team sheet comes out and everyone often looks at it anyway, and you go, well, it's going to be 3-4-3 again, so who's playing there and who's playing there? So it's not all been negative. They're not that far off the top four, let's be honest. But it's like they've spent a lot of money. The squad has been decimated at the moment with injury and then the Africa Cup of Nations. But yeah, it was just a match which summed up that United aren't where they want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's that sort of tactical or lack of tactical flexibility. Obviously, reports suggesting that the main beef that Amorim had and who his comments were aimed at in that press conference after the game were Jason Wilcox, obviously one of the hierarchy at Manchester United, and the little sly sort of dig about if you can't handle criticism from the likes of Gary Neville, then, maybe it should be you that leaves the club. Turns out it's Amorim. But just to sort of sum up before we move on to sort of his broader reign at United from that Leeds game, the positive side was him finally showing a bit of tactical flexibility and making those important subs, which ultimately rescued them the point.
Yeah, absolutely. There were other positives as well. Aidan Heaven was outstanding in the game, and before we had to re-record, maybe we'll do this at a later date, I was comparing him to Rio Ferdinand and his starting position, and I thought he was excellent, and he's shown that he can play at the centre of a back three. We might not see him there any longer, but, we'll see him in a different formation, but he's proved he can play at the centre of a back three. He has got Dorgu and Dalot, who are flexible wing backs, and Dalot particularly has grown into that. Got a lot of criticism last season, been far better this season. The problem with that 3-4-3 is that mobility in midfield, losing Bruno's creativity in there as well, and also the striker position. I thought Benjamin Šeško was very good in open play and understanding what Amorim wants him to do tactically, but just not good enough in the penalty area. So you need a number 9 to do both. So yeah, some highs and some lows, and after 14 months, clearly the Man United board don't think he's got enough credit in the bank to be making statements like he made last night.
Yeah, quite, yeah. 14 months. I think it was 24 wins out of 63 games in charge.
Not enough for Man United, is it?
Absolutely not. No, 15th in the table last season as well. Not very good at all. Just talk to me then, Dino. We've talked about the good and the bad that we saw from Amorim in that game at Leeds. Talk to me generally about his time at United. We'll be dominated by the 3-4-3 conversation, of course. You felt it was slowly coming good. Their league position suggests, certainly compared to last season, that maybe that was the case. But just sum up good and bad. You got about 3 minutes, I think, for each one of Amorim's entire reign.
Right, okay, that's quite tough. But yeah, 3-4-3 has been...
3 for good, 3 for bad. That's
okay,
6 whole
fine,
minutes.
Yeah. 3-4-3 has been the sort of hot topic. We've done it lots on Tactics Exposed. It's worth going back and have a look at those shows as well, because there's quite a lot of admiration from me and us about how... Not that he dug his heels in, that he stuck with his beliefs. And look, it wasn't very good last season, and the Europa League run sort of papered over the cracks of what was a terrible league season. But the club believed that he was the man to do it, and he believed that this is the formation to go ahead. And my personal belief is, from a tactical point of view, is that it's not the formation that's the problem. And actually what was the problem at United was the squad that they had wasn't fit to play 3-4-3. And so the steps that they were making were much, much slower. And I mentioned Luke Shaw there before, Harry Maguire, Matthijs de Ligt, it's players like that who have played in back fours their whole lives, and then all of a sudden this coach comes in, wants them to do some very different things. And we did see positives. We saw Newcastle games where, the back three were jumping out and creating an extra man in midfield. The Chelsea game where we saw de Ligt almost marking a midfielder on the edge of the opposition area and forcing a team back in. And when they got Amad Diallo playing wing back in an attacking position, and Burmo came in, Cunha come in, Šeško comes in, you think, wow, this is starting to take shape. But central midfield they hadn't solved. That was, I believe, the January transfer window to come. But for me, 3-4-3, 4-4-2, 4-5-1, however you want to pitch it, none of these teams end up in that shape anyway. You write down Manchester City's team and it's probably 4-3-3 or 4-1-4-1. And they end up in a position where they're in that 2-3-5 attacking shape or 2-2-6 attacking shape. Arsenal the same. On paper, it looks like it's a 4-2-3-1. As soon as they go into an attacking shape, it's 3-2-5. As soon as they go into a defensive shape, it's 4-4-2. Right. So people get obsessed by the starting map that gets shown on the TV and the websites of the positions. What's important is what those players do within those positions. And it took them a long time, some of those players, to get used to what Amorim wanted to do, and the results showed.
Do you think then, Dino, ultimately, given where they are in the league table now, no European football this season, of course, so, that's one less distraction, one less sort of big chunk of games where you can manage your squad a bit better. Obviously, we have to inject in the sort of like Man United delusion that's happened in recent times where fans are still expecting them to be the Man United of old, which they haven't been for years now. Do you think actually that he was doing it was going to be a long process? Arsenal stuck with Arteta after a dodgy first season. I think they came 8th and now look at them. Do you think the reason Manchester United is saying reluctantly let go because they felt maybe this was coming good, but the show of petulance was just they couldn't stand for that?
Yeah, there's obviously been a breakdown. I think they were moving in the right direction, and there did seem to be a lot of slowly, possibly too slowly, possibly. But this was meant to be an evolution of Manchester United. They'd been going down a rabbit hole of sacking and rehiring and doing the same things and expecting different results since Alex Ferguson, and all of a sudden this felt like a reset. And OK, it's going to take us time, but this is our belief in what we're going to do. Head coach, with a new set of players and belief, but playing in an attacking Manchester United way. And I actually think that the last 10 days is where it's all broken down, because I think probably very reluctantly he's gone to that back four in the game against Newcastle, and then you've got Roy Keane, Gary Neville and all the lights coming out and going, it looked like Manchester United again, and that's irked him. Yeah. That has irked him. And then straight away he switched back to his preferred formation. It hasn't looked quite so good, and then the relationship breakdown. But look, managers have their tactical plans and have their tactical ideas. And I think the actual mistake that was made was in the first window, so last January, and then the summer, in that not enough money was invested in the squad to players to go at it. But we know the financial restraints that these clubs are under, so I can't just lay the blame at the club's door as well. But formation is not just the problem. It's how you implement that with the players that you've got. And I actually think that there was an exciting year ahead for Man United, but, I can speculate about that all I like now because we're not going to see it, are
exactly,
we?
Yeah. Well, look, world's smallest violin, I would say,
yeah.
Dino, for Manchester United, financially wise.
And also for Ruben Amorim, like as we said, 20-odd wins in 60-odd games is not enough for Man United managers. So don't come out and start throwing things at a board when you haven't got the credit in the bank to do that. If they'd won the Europa League last year and they were third in the league and pushing the other two for the title, and the board weren't backing you in the January window, that's when you come out and go, come on, guys, help me out a bit more. Not when you've just failed to beat Wolves at home and drawn away at Leeds.
Yeah, and drew at home to West Ham, of
course.
Yes. How embarrassing that is. Look, just quickly, and it's quite interesting. It kind of takes us on to point number 3 in the video about what do they do next. We know that Darren Fletcher will be taking charge on an interim basis at first. Obviously, been at the club a very long time, bit of a United stalwart as he is now. He'll be taking over. The question naturally will go to, where do they go next? By what you're saying, it sounds to me, well, they need to find another manager with similar philosophies. At the very end of this video, I will ask you who you think would make a good replacement. But beforehand, whoever that may be, starting with Darren Fletcher and then beyond, with the players they've got now, what are the best tactics for Manchester United, in your opinion, going forward?
Well, it's really difficult now because you're not, unless you appoint Oliver Glasner, then you're not going to get a manager to play 3-4-3 because there isn't. I do want him at Tottenham. Yeah, hands off United. But it's not going to be 3-4-3. Okay, let's just get that out there now. There's no way that they can be doing their due diligence, their interview process, or looking at the next manager as soon as they go to any coach who, he likes playing 3-4-3. No, it's not going to be him. Okay, it's just not going to be him. But Manchester United are going to go back to a back four, and they're going to pick a coach who plays a back four.
But haven't they got the squad? You just sort of spoke about, and Amorim's obviously wanted it as well. They've bought players for Amorim and that system. Isn't that just going to equal another 14 to 18 months of transition again?
No, not for me. It's a good question, but for me, it's because those players that they've got there at the moment have played for at the back their whole careers, apart from the last 14 months.
All of them?
Yeah, vast majority of them. Lisandro Martinez is probably the one that was, bought as a flexi player. So you can play left centre-back in a 4, can play left centre-back or left back.
Cunha at Wolves would have done a bit.
Yeah, Cunha, absolutely. But it's the defensive line that, to me, is the one, and the midfield players. Now, you don't want, if you're a Man United fan, I don't think you want to be playing Casemiro and Ugarte every week.
Yeah.
One of the two of them, as the holder in front of the back 4, is the way to go. Look, Luke Shaw comfortably just goes back in at left back, okay? Whether they want to upgrade him going forward or they want to play, if they're playing a team in the bottom 3 and then you go to Patrick Dorgu, who's a more attacking left back, fine, okay? But left back. Diogo Dalot is a fullback, that's been converted into a wing back, yeah? So he just goes back in, starts playing right back again. They've got Lisandro Martinez, they've got Aiden Heaven, who's emerged. When De Ligt comes back, Lenny Yoro was probably the one that is going to find life the most difficult here. But having said that, he's spent time at right back as well. So all of a sudden the back 4 looks more comfortable. Casemiro or Ugarte in front. Then they've got their attacking midfielders in Bruno and Mason Mount, and who have all, again, played in those formations before, or 8/10s. Then you play your wingers, and then you've got Cunha and Burmo as your attacking players. So
if Dean Scoggins then is taking over...
They haven't called me yet.
No, quite. Well, maybe they should have. Rather than Darren Fletcher... You're playing 4-3-3, are you?
Yes, I think so. 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 shape that becomes that 4-3-3 that we talk about. Again.
And that's the long term, would you say?
Yeah, I think it has to be. Look, and Burmo played in that setup for Brentford. Cunha's played, as you mentioned, in a variety of different setups. The number 9, it doesn't really make that much difference. But for someone like Benjamin Šeško, I think that if you're playing as the striker and you've got wide men, you're going to get in the box more often for crosses. As I say, look, I don't think it's just about the formation, but we can move on and say they're not going to play 3-4-3. And, I think there's the Bruno Fernandes factor here. The question marks over whether he'll leave this January. I think you can, that is going to come up as well now. Was he a supporter of 3-4-3 and Amorim, or is he going to go back to playing the number 10?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just interested where it would leave. Sort of, if it's a 4-3-3, all I'm thinking as you're saying it is, well, Casemiro can't play the base on its own. No. So if Casemiro's in, you need to have 2 there. Then you've got 3 up the top. Where does that leave? How do you fit all of those? Cunha and Fernandes in first of all. Then a Burmo. Does Šeško play up front on his own in that system? Loads of questions to be answered. You know where to go, though, to keep track of this from a tactical perspective. It's Tactics Exposed. Right, Dino, excellent show. Pulled out of our hats
yes.
this morning. Just quickly then to sign off. Who is the best manager for Manchester United to replace Ruben Amorim?
Wow, that is a difficult question to answer. It feels like this is quite a knee-jerk reaction, so I don't think it's going to be, that they've already done their homework into who it is. I think that Xavi is one name that keeps coming up, and you say that the money that he's on in the Middle East is difficult to match, but this is Manchester United. We're talking about somebody like that comes in and employs a fast attacking Barcelona-style philosophy that suits Manchester United. A midfielder who knows how to play those 4-3-3s or 4-2-3-1 formations. You've got somebody like Xabi Alonso who's under huge pressure at Real Madrid, who could come into Manchester United. But Enzo Maresca's available. Pep Guardiola talks him up as the next cab off the rank for Manchester City. Will Manchester United go in there and just take him out of it? You look at the way that he employed his tactical philosophy at Chelsea. Club World Cup winner, and all right, this year it's not been as good as he would hope. But there's those type of managers around, and yeah, they've got a big job now, Man United. They'd gone down this route, and it's a huge turnaround now to get it back the other way.
Absolutely, mate. Go and get Glasner. Go and get Oliver Glasner. Listen,
hang on. Thomas Frank. Take Thomas Frank. It's fine. You can have Thomas Frank.
Nuno Espirito Santo. Take him. He plays 5 at the back as well. Listen, thanks very much for watching this episode of Tactics Exposed, planned and executed in about 4 seconds flat after Ruben Amorim's sacking was announced midway through the first record. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Sun Sport. Like this video. Let us know what you think in the comments. What went right, what went wrong for Amorim during his time at Manchester United. Who you want to see next, and most importantly of all, what formation and system Manchester United fans you want your team playing. Thanks very much, and we'll see you later this week.